We've been talking about the Qur'an al-Kareem since yesterday. Basically, this event is all about the Qur'an al-Kareem. The Qur'an al-Kareem is not about the recitation or the memorization, even though we congratulate those kids that stood up yesterday memorizing the Qur'an al-Kareem, and none of them have reached the age of 15. And again, there was a girl 6 years old that memorized the Qur'an. But it's not about memorizing the Qur'an or even chanting it and reciting it in a beautiful way. It's all about what the Qur'an does to you. How does it impact you? The miracle of the Qur'an al-Kareem comes to conclusion when the Qur'an al-Kareem itself has an impact on you. If it doesn't have an impact on you, then you can consider yourself a dead soul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Yasin, when He mentioned why He revealed the Qur'an, قال لينذر من كان حيا. ينذر من كان حيا. It's a warning, it's an announcement to those who are alive. So if you're dead, then you can't really hear. أموات غير أحياء وما يشعرون أيان يبعثون. So how do you know that the Qur'an has brought its fruits on you? We need to see it change you, impact you, has something that reforms you. So you're not the same person before or after. In fact, you're not the same person every time you read the Qur'an al-Kareem. There's an echo, right? I can hear the echo. Maybe I need to go back. Okay. In fact, every time you read the Qur'an al-Kareem, the Qur'an al-Kareem should have some kind of change in you. And you should feel your iman increase and your heart tremble. And you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala each time, not once in your life. Allah ta'ala says in the Qur'an al-Kareem, الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. And those, when Allah Ta'ala is mentioned, their hearts start to tremble. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ. And if the Qur'an is recited on them, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Their iman increases. So if you want to know the value of the Qur'an al-Kareem in your life, then look at how it impacts you, how it changes you each time you hear an ayah. If it just passes right by, then know that the value is not that precious. And let me just give you an example of how this Qur'an al-Kareem affected the best of the people. Just because they were the chosen ones doesn't mean that the Qur'an al-Kareem didn't have that power and that force that shook them, that changed them, that evolved their lives into something special. So for example, the Qur'an al-Kareem had its impact on the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Any time that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to read the Qur'an al-Kareem, he couldn't hold himself from crying. In the hadith al-Sahih, من رواية مطرف بن عبد الله عن أبيه, he said, رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وفي صدره أزيز كأزيز المرجل من البكاء. I don't even know how am I going to translate this one. But the Rasul, the Sahabi said, I saw the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his chest. Aziz means there's buzzing in his chest so hard, like it's a buzzing of a mirjal. Al mirjal, like a bell that's ringing inside. That's not because he was singing, it was so saddened. You know when you cry, you go, right? He could hear it inside his heart, trembling, buzzing. Why? Because of the Qur'an al-Kareem. The hadith عن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله تعالى عنه قال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, you all know this hadith, اقرأ علي القرآن. قلت يا رسول الله أقرأ عليك وعليك أنزل؟ قال فإني أحب أن أسمعه من غيري. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Abdullah. He told him, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, we mentioned him yesterday, right? And he said, read the Qur'an for me. He said, Ya Rasulullah, you want me to read the Qur'an? And the Qur'an to you was revealed? He said, I love to hear it from someone else. You know, even if you're a hafiz, hearing it from someone else has a special spice into it. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud started to read the Qur'an for the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Surah An-Nisa until he reached فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جِئْنَا مِن كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ بِشَهِيدٍ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, stop there. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, I lifted my eyes and I saw the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam trembling and crying. In some of the narrations, his beard was dripping with his tears. Question. That's how the Qur'an al-Kareem impacted the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're talking about a man that he had already been forgiven all of his sins. He didn't need to worry about the outcome. The outcome from him was promising to Jannah. He was chosen. He's the chosen one. He was promised al-Maqam al-Mahmud. I mean, we're promised nothing. He was promised al-Maqam al-Mahmud. He was promised that he will intercede for all humanity. Shafa'atul Ummah. He is the one that has promised that Jannah will not open except for him. The doors of Jannah, the guards are told not to open the doors of the gates of Jannah unless he comes and knocks on the door. And they will ask, who is it? And he has to say, I am Muhammad. And they will say, for you we were ordered to open the gates, not for anyone else. He's the one. He's the one that will stand there telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my ummah, my people. We know where he is. And still, he felt like every time he heard the Qur'an al-Kareem, he cried. Crying with hearing the Qur'an al-Kareem, not a result of sins. I know some of us cry because we feel like we're guilty of something. The Qur'an al-Kareem, we cry because it increases our iman. It allows us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is, it is a communication that Allah communicates with us. That's the way he talks to us in this dunya. He talks to us through the Qur'an al-Kareem. I mean, if you have not seen your parents for a long time and all of a sudden they talk to you, emotionally you get caught up in that moment and you cry. If you have, a child that you have not seen for a long time, emotionally you get caught up and you cry. Allah Ta'ala is the most beloved to our hearts, isn't he? And each time you read the Qur'an al-Kareem, that means he's talking to you. When he's saying, Ya ibadi alladhina asrafu, he's saying, Ya ibadi, oh my servants. So he's talking to you. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. He's saying, oh those who believe. He's talking to you. He's talking to you. So we get caught up with these emotions and our hearts tremble and our eyes get watery. And that's how the Qur'an should be. And here it is, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was crying. Not because he was scared. He didn't need to be scared. He was already promised Jannah. Jannah that we talked about this morning. But he was crying because he showed gratitude. He showed love. Do you know how much that he loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that's the result of how he got connected with the Qur'an al-Kareem. He said to the Sahaba, if I was to take anyone most beloved to my heart, I would have taken Abu Bakr, but there's no room left in my heart. I don't have anything left in my heart. My heart is full of love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything didn't matter. And that is why every time he heard the Qur'an, he cried, because he was favored to hear that. All of you and I, are all favored. We saw him so attached to the Qur'an al-Kareem that his long nights was all reading the Qur'an al-Kareem. I mean, if we ask ourselves, what was the last time after Ramadan that you woke up on your own and read the Qur'an al-Kareem at night? I mean, sometimes we wake up a little earlier than Salat al-Fajr, so we tend to pick up the Qur'an because we had some free time. But when was the last time you intentionally wanted to wake up at night to read the Qur'an al-Kareem? I mean, listen to this. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, Bittu inda khalati Maymuna. Maymuna was his mother's sister. He said, فَتَحَدَّثَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم مع أهله. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spent time with his family at night. And then he went to sleep. ثم رقد. فلما كان ثلث الليل الآخر, the last portion of the night, the last 1/3 of the night, he woke up. فقعد فنظر إلى السماء, and he started to recite إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. And he woke up, he did wudu, and started reading the Qur'an until he heard the adhan. In another hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that he spent the night with the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered his salah. So Anas said, I said to myself, he's going to read 100 ayah and then do ruku'. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued. Then Anas said, I said to myself, he's going to finish Al-Baqarah and then do ruku'. He started Surah An-Nisa. And then he said, okay, I figured he's going to finish Surah An-Nisa and then do ruku'. He went back and recited Surah Al-Imran. By the way, which comes in the Quran first, Al-Imran or Nisa? Al-Imran comes first. But the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed, قرأ Al-Baqarah, ثم النساء, ثم Al-Imran. So you can go other than the order. In one rak'ah, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed all three surahs in one rak'ah. How many ayats are there in Surah Al-Baqarah? 200 and what? In 86. If you count Al-Fatiha, it's 287. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. 287. And he didn't stop there. He got into Surah An-Nisa and Surah Al-Imran in one rak'ah. How many of us actually read all of that in a month? Do you see the attachment that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had in the Qur'an al-Karim? That's why he was so unique and different. The Qur'an to them was a way of life. It wasn't just a matter of to relieve them from their pain, or as a result of fasting the month of Ramadan. So you want to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means to you? Then see how your relationship is with the Qur'an al-Karim. There is nothing in this life that is perfect except the Qur'an al-Karim. Do y'all know that? Everything in this dunya is created. There's only one thing that is not created. What is it? Al-Qur'an al-Karim. With us that we interact with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course. Why is that? Because the words of the Qur'an al-Karim are the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Part of his attributes. Kalamullahi huwa sifah min sifatih. His attributes of Allah. So you have access to the perfection at its best. لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه. You have the absolute truth. There is nothing in this dunya after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran al-Karim that is absolute truth. No matter how much truth you say, there's always a shortcoming in the whole story. You can't remember everything in whatever story in your own life. Imagine someone else's life. The Quran al-Karim is the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So that is how they were. And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was asked, she says, what is the most amazing thing that you remember about the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This is Aisha, his wife, so she knows best, right? So she sat there for a little while thinking, and then she said, قالت, there was one night, he said that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she wanted the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she wanted to spend time with him, a personal husband and wife time with him. And he said, Ya Aisha, darini ata'abbadu al-layla. Why don't you leave me today dedicated to my ibadah? And she said, Wallahi inni la uhibbu qurbaka ya Rasulullah. And I want you to be close to me tonight, but I would leave you to what you love. What you love most. He loves Aisha, but he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala most. فقام فتطهر ثم قام يصلي فقلت فلم يزل يبكي حتى بل حجره. قالت ثم بكى فلم يزل يبكي حتى بل لحيته. قالت ثم بكى فلم يزل يبكي حتى بل الأرض. فجاء بلال يؤذنه بالصلاة فلما رآه يبكي قال يا رسول الله لم تبكي وقد غفر الله لك ما تقدم وما تأخر. قال أفلا أكون عبدا شكورا. She said he stood up to pray and read the Qur'an al-Karim, and he started crying until he wet his own beard, and then he continued to cry until he wet the floor, the ground that he makes sujood at. That's how much he was crying. And he continued to do that all night long until Bilal came to tell him it's time for prayer. And he still saw him crying. He said, Ya Rasulullah, why are you crying when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven you all of your past and present and future sins? He said, shouldn't I be a grateful or a servant that is grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When was the last time you cried? Do you want to guarantee yourself to go to Jannah? There is a guarantee. Jannah will not touch an eye that cried out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and hope. لا تلمس النار عينا بكت من خشية الله. Khashya is more than translating fear. It's a mixture of love and fear and hope at the same time. وعين باتت تحرس في سبيل الله. And an eye that spent guarding the troops or the army in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And you might think, well, he's still human. The angels themselves, and we know, can the angels commit sins? Do the angels commit sins? They don't. لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. In fact, they're created from what? What are the angels created from? Light. And light is pure. Light is pure. That's part of their characteristics. That they're created from light, and light is the only pure energy. Fire is not pure. Light is pure. And part of their characteristics also is that they do not commit sins, and they follow the order to its details. And here we are. جاء عبد الله بن خباب حدثه أن أبا سعيد الخدري أن أسيد بن حضير بينما هو في ليلة يقرأ في مربده إذ جاءت فرسه فقرأ ثم جالت أخرى فقرأ ثم جالت. I'll explain the hadith. The hadith is long. It's one of the Sahaba. He was in his barn. Al-Mirbidda is a barn where you have your animals, and he had his horse there. And as he was reading, the horse started going wild. So he stopped. Then the horse calmed down. Then he started to read again, and then the horse went wild again. So it's like, what's going on? Then he stopped again. Then the horse calmed down. So he's wondering that maybe the horse is going crazy. He recited the Qur'an for the third time, and as soon as he started, the horse started bringing up its legs and going wild. He said, I walked toward the horse, and all of a sudden I kind of felt something rising into the heavens, and there's a shade to it. He said that I got terrified. He said, the next day I came to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I said, Ya Rasulullah, you should have saw what happened yesterday. As I was reading the Qur'an al-Karim, my horse went crazy. And every time I stopped, it calmed down. And every time I started again, it went wild. And then as I walked towards it, I felt something rising, and there was a shade to it. He said, that was the angels. They came to listen to you reading. They came to listen to you reading. The angels couldn't prevent themselves from coming to listening to the Qur'an al-Karim. In fact, in the hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari wa Muslim, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks, and He spoke the Qur'an al-Karim, the angels collapse down with their wings. They start flapping their wings, and they get down on their knees and foreheads, and they don't raise their heads until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops talking. And then the first angel that raises his head is Jibreel alayhi salam, and he hears what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said to them. And then the angels will say, ماذا قال ربكم? They tell Jibreel, what did he say? فيقول قالوا الحق وهو العلي الكبير. He said the truth. So even the angels with all their power, Jibreel alayhi salam has how many wings? 600 wings. 600. Yeah. 600 wings. He took the whole village with the tip of one of his wings. With one of his wings, lifted it all the way up to the heavens, all the way up to the sky, flipped it and smashed it down by the tip of his wings. With all that strength, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks, he collapses. If we just allow this Quran to access our hearts, the mountains themselves cannot stand strong if they are to hear the Quran al-Kareem. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل, what will happen? لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية. You know what the word متصدع means? Means it will collapse, it will crack. It will not stand still, it will not stand strong. And you see how big the mountains are. And some of us, when the Quran enters our hearts, it has no whatsoever power to penetrate. It's like our hearts are made of solid rock, not even the rock of a mountain, just pure solid rock. A rock, in the Quran al-Kareem, Allah Ta'ala says, a rock sometimes out of it will come an eye of water. And some rocks will tremble out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and some of our hearts just stand there like nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. So that's the angels. Not just that, the jinn. You might think, okay, these are just pure beings. Well, the jinn, they're like us. They're human beings. I mean, they're like the human beings. They're not human beings. They're like the human beings. And they're created from what? Fire. Just like a shayateen. But a shayateen, they can't believe. And the jinn are human beings. They can believe and not. Subhanallah. There's the angels that are pure good. The devils that are pure evil. And then the jinn and ins, their choice to be good or not. They were wandering around, maneuvering around, and they can fly. And then all of a sudden, they heard the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam reading the Qur'an al-Kareem. Reading the Qur'an al-Kareem. What did they do? They didn't run away. On the contrary. Yeah, but before they went to the other jinn, what did they do? They didn't collapse either. But you were listening. That was good. What did they do? They sat there and listened. And not just heard it, they listened to it. There's a difference between I heard the Quran and I listened to the Quran. وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. To listen to the Quran. فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا. Now I have a question for the adults. What's the difference between سَمِعَ وَأَنصَتَ? وَسَكَتَ وَأَنصَتَ? Who can tell me? The adults. What's the difference? وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. What's the difference between the two? Huh? وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. Al-istima', it's a matter of being receptive. Al-istima' is being receptive, that you're allowing the Quran to be heard. وَأَنصِتُوا means from your perspective, you are listening deeper to where you're looking into every little detail that is being said with comprehension and tadabbur. So they were ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go to listen. When they arrived, as soon as they were listening, they went to the next level, which is they started saying, oh my, look how deep this Quran came. They started to understand it. And within one setting, after it was all done, they didn't leave early. They didn't leave early. Ansitu. فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ. When the Rasul ﷺ finished reading, they went back to their people to do what? To give them da'wah. وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنْذِرِينَ. Yeah, they went to their people and they understood the whole message within one setting. They came back and said, Ya qawmana ajibu da'i Allah. They said, Inna sami'na kitaban unzila min ba'di Musa musaddiqan lima bayna yadayhi yahdi ila rushd ila tariqin mustaqim. They described the Qur'an, they said kitaban ajaba within one setting. Sometimes we read the whole Qur'an al-Karim numerous times and still we don't understand anything. So these are the jinn. Look how the Qur'an impacted them. And many of them converted to Islam. Just like we did. Or we do. They embraced it. They lived upon, according to this deen. Now that's the prophet, that's the angels, that's, the jinn. What about us as human beings? The irony is, we as Muslims, sometimes the Quran has more impact on the mushrik than it does on us.
That's right.
And mushrik, the one that doesn't believe. Do you know that story? Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. Quraysh sent him to listen to the Qur'an al-Karim. And they said, go and listen to it so you can formulate an idea of how we can attack this Qur'an al-Karim in the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he sits there and listens to the Qur'an while the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is reading. And he found himself touched by the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he described the Qur'an al-Karim in such a way. I have never ever heard anyone describe the Qur'an like him. Till today. In my 30 plus years of reading, I have never ever felt such a description of the Qur'an like Al-Walid al-Mughira described the Qur'an. He said, Inna lahu la halaw. This Qur'an has such sweetness to it. وَإِنَّ عَلَيْهِ لَطَلَاوَةً. On top of it, it's like we say, the crust of the cake. وَإِنَّ عَلَاهُ لَمُثْمِرٌ. It's like a tree that has so much fruits. Its branches is fruitful. وَإِنَّ أَسْفَلَهُ لَمُغْدَقٌ. And its roots are deep. So check this tree out. It has so much fruits that's coming out of its branches, and it's so deep in ground in its roots. And the fruits of it is so sweet, and not just sweet in its taste, also kind of have like the cream of it. وَإِنَّ عَلَاهُ لَمُثْمِرٌ وَإِنَّ أَسْفَلَهُ لَمُغْدَقٌ وَإِنَّهُ يَعْلُو وَلَا يُعْلَى عَلَيْهِ. And this Quran dominates, nothing can dominate it ever. This is the impact of the Quran al-Karim on a mushrik. One day the Rasul ﷺ was reciting the Quran al-Karim near the Kaaba. And there were a bunch of mushrikeens there. And he's reading surah that all of us memorized. وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. And he continued to read and read and read and read of this surah until he reached the last ayah. And he said, فَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ وَاعْبُدُوا. As soon as he said this ayah, without them thinking, they were so overwhelmed by the Qur'an al-Karim, without thinking they all did sujood. One of them was so arrogant, he didn't do sujood, but he couldn't resist. He took some dirt and put it on his forehead. Abu Jahl. Amr ibn Hisham. He's so arrogant, he put some dirt and put it on his forehead. All of those that did sujood eventually became Muslim. But look how overwhelming the Qur'an al-Karim is. That they couldn't help it. They could not help it except to do sujood. And they are not even Muslims. They are not even Muslims. Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, he also came to the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to listen to the Quran. He said, Ya Muhammad, read some Quran to me, please. So the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam started reading some Quran to him. And after he finished, he went to his people and he said, listen to me. Listen to me. For I am sincerely advising you. Let this man be in whatever he calls to. For Wallahi, the future will be in his hands. And you will gain that because you're his tribe. I mean, don't be his enemy. Just from listening to the Qur'an al-Karim. Just from listening to the Qur'an. We all know the story of Umar ibn al-Khattab. How many of you know how Umar ibn al-Khattab became a Muslim? Raise your hands if you do. What's the story behind his Islam?
The story when he was like hearing about it and he wanted to go kill Prophet Muhammad, and he listened to his sister and
Yes.
her husband reciting the Quran.
Yeah, we all know this story. But part of what we like is we like drama. Umar ibn al-Khattab takes his sword and he walks out of his house intending to kill this man that has divided the fathers from their children and the husbands from their wives, Muhammad. And on his way he meets one of the Sahaba or one of the slaves. Says, "Where are you going, Ya Umar? I can see evil coming out of your eyes." He said, "I am going to go kill this man that has divided this Ummah and all that." He said, "Why would you do such a thing and bring such ar to Bani Umayyah? Don't do that." Amr ibn Adi. He said, "What? Are you someone that have followed him?" He said, "Don't accuse me of this, for your own family have." Ooh, my family is your sister and her husband, and there's someone that teaches them. How many of you know actually what's his sister's name? I'll give you her name, Fatima. What's the name of her husband? Anyone that knows the name of her husband, I'm going to give you $1. What's the name of the husband of Umar ibn al-Khattab's sister Fatima? Look at that, Mr. Google already. He is one of the 10 Mubashirin of Jannah. He's one of the 10 of Mubashirin of Jannah. Subhanallah. And many of us don't even know. Okay, who was their teacher? I'll give you $5 if you know who their teacher was. No. Zayd is her husband. You get the $1. But who gets the 5? Okay, yeah, Zayd ibn who?
Zayd ibn Haritha.
Then you don't get the $1. Alhamdulillah. Thought I lost my $1. Yeah, he already said that. They didn't say it. And who was their teacher? No. Now, enough guessing. Let me finish the story.
Sit down.
So I guess you know the story. He walks, he goes to his sister's house, he overhears them reading the Quran, he breaks in, he said, "What is this that I hear?" And their teacher Al-Khabbab was hiding under some clothing, and where's what you were hearing? No. There are some events that happen at specific date in history, like the Battle of Badr. Does anyone know what day the Battle of Badr happened? On the 17th of Ramadan. 17th of Ramadan, the Battle of Badr happened. Are we allowed to celebrate it? No, even though Allah Ta'ala says about the day of Badr, يَوْمَ الْتَقَى الْجَمْعَانِ. It's a day it's a great day, it's an amazing day. It's the day that changed history. So Thanksgiving, first reason we're not allowed to celebrate it is because it's considered a holiday. And a holiday, any holiday, period, religiously or not, is not allowed to be celebrated without a permission from the Quran and Sunnah. Second, I don't know why people want to celebrate Thanksgiving in the first place. You know why? Do you know where Thanksgiving come from? What? The Indians, right? Yeah. I mean, the Indians, poor people. They made a meal, a feast, and invited all these Europeans that came. And they fed them. After they fed them, they killed them all. Yes. And now we want to celebrate. This day should be an apology for the Indians. Yeah, the American people should say we're sorry to the Indians because we killed you after you gave us a feast. Not that we're going to celebrate your feast. That's second. Now some might say it's not because of the Indians, it's a religious event because we show gratitude to the blessings of the Lord that allowed us to have. If that's the case, that's even more haram. Because then it becomes a religious holiday for non-Muslims. And are we allowed to celebrate religious holidays of non-Muslims? No, we're not allowed to. That's why we don't celebrate Christmas. We don't celebrate Easter. Right? By the way, do you know why they celebrate Christmas? Can you tell me? Yeah, they said it's Jesus' birthday. Subhanallah. Do you know in the Bible when he was born?
No one knows.
In the Bible, when he was born in the spring. In the Bible. In the Qur'an, he was born at the end of summer. Because in the Qur'an al-Kareem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَهُزِّ إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. Rutab al-Jani means that the dates were ripe. And they don't become ripe until the end of summer. But in the Bible, it says when the flower blossoms. When do the flower blossom? In the spring. And they celebrate it the 25th of December. They don't even know when he's born. Now, when are you born? October what? October 8th. Would you be happy if I say that I celebrate 6? Okay, would you be happy if I celebrate your birthday in July 10? No. So if they really want to celebrate his birthday, it has to be sometime in the spring. Does anyone know what date it is? No, they don't. Even the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let me tell you something. We know for sure that he's born on Monday. 100%. We know for sure that he's born in Rabi' al-Awwal. 100%. We know for sure that he's born Am al-Fil. 100%. But what date it is? The 12th of Rabi'? We don't know for sure. Some say the 12th. Some say it wasn't the 12th, it was the 19th. And there's different dates in the Seerah, in the Hadith of when the Rasul exactly was born. Why does Allah hide all these things? Because they don't matter. It's not important. What's important is we celebrate each other for being who we are as Muslims. You understand? Any other questions? Yes? Based on what I just said, what do you think? Thank you. Give me a high five. Does that mean, for the adults, this is for the adults, because sometimes we're also too extreme. Does that mean that I don't cherish special days in my life? No, absolutely, that's not true. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cherished a lot of things in his life. For example, he used to donate, slaughter a sheep in the name of Khadija. On every day, on every Thursday, he used to go slaughter a sheep and donate it in the name of Khadija. He used to cherish Khadija. He used to love her so much that he used to do that for her. Now, some say that he used to fast Monday because he was born on Monday, but that's actually not true, because he also fasted Thursday. But he cherished the 10th of Muharram, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa and his people. So he fasted that day, and he added another day so he doesn't become like the Jews in their fasting. He wanted to be a little different. So we're allowed to share. So let's say I married my wife. We got married in 1989. Okay? In June the 17th of 1989, my wife and I married. I always remember this day as a special day in my life, because I married the woman I love and the mother of my kids, and she's been with me all these years. If you count how many years it is from 1989 till now, it's way before many of you were born. So from time to time, not every year, but from time to time, I give her flowers, we go out for dinner, and whatever and all that. But I don't say happy anniversary, sweetheart. Okay, because I don't want to mimic what they do, but that doesn't mean she wasn't important to my life. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? All right. And as a father, I memorized all the birthdays of my kids. I have 7 children. And believe me, it's not easy to remember all those dates. But I have those dates as my passwords. So this is the password for my bank, this is the password for my computer, their dates. And I cherish those dates. When they come, I remember that I was blessed with Abdullah and Abdulrahman. I was blessed with Afnan, wa Ala, wa Muna, wa Nada, wa Jana. So I'm happy with all those kids. They made me complete. My children made me complete. Yes? MashaAllah. MashaAllah. May Allah bless your father for choosing a good name for you.
Yeah, One of the youth just remind me one question that they asked you last time. They give you a note, I think, and then
Yeah, it was about Thanksgiving.
was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The answer is
What advice do you give to the masajid to implement these things you just mentioned, the importance of teaching the Qur'an to the kids and to the adults? Because a lot of time what we see is the masajids have been empty. We don't see any programs for the kids, for the adults, especially apart from memorizing the Quran. So what advice do you give to the community elders, to the masajids?
Alhamdulillah, I mean, every imam, may Allah bless them, put a lot of time and effort into teaching and preaching, and we see the results. Sometimes we become very critical and we lose some appreciation into what this ummah have done. I mean, I see a lot of kids today, if there was no work, you wouldn't be here in the first place. So there's a lot of good things happening. And, I said this yesterday, when I grew up in Detroit in the 70s, there was no such thing as Islamic school or even weekend school. In fact, the masjid that we used to go to, they used to only open it on Friday. And then Saturday morning, they used to have belly dancers and stuff to do their fundraisers. So there's a lot of good that's happened in our communities. Imams have put a lot of time and dedicated a lot of energy into it. But that doesn't mean we're perfect. That doesn't mean we can't be better. And I think something like this needs conferences, not a conference, many conferences, for us to come with a plan and strategy to face the challenges of a new generation that is completely different from the previous generation. Because each generation poses a different challenge. The early generation, they came to the States, and Islam is already cemented in their hearts, and the Qur'an is already cemented in their hearts. Even if they didn't know what Islam is, but they couldn't see themselves other than being Muslims. Then the new generation came, they were in between. They've lost the ability to speak Arabic if they were Arabs, to speak Urdu if they're from Pakistan or India. They lost the capacity of speaking the native language of their parents, and English became their primary language, but they were still more attached to their inheritance of their fathers and mothers because they constantly heard it from their parents. We were, this was, and some of those families even did more. They took their kids back home from time to time. But the third generation that we see today is a generation that no longer speaks that language at all, if best of them that can understand it, but necessarily speak it. And now they have a challenging concept of seeing themselves as Muslims because they have to be convinced. They didn't inherit Islam, they embraced Islam. I have workshops that I do, they go from 3 to 7 days, which I look at the new generation, the youth, as converts. Not Muslims, as converts. They embrace them because you have to convince them to be a Muslim. So that challenge is huge. And our masajids, as of now, probably have not done a perfect job yet or an acceptable job for many reasons. One, because it's a new phenomena that came to us. We didn't expect to live here long enough. Many of us that came to this country, we thought that we were going to come make some money, build a house back home, and go back. That's how we looked at it. And all of a sudden now we got sucked into this country, and we stayed and we stayed and stayed, and then it became like a melting pot. Now many of us, especially at our age, don't even dream of going back home. And even if we wanted to, our kids don't want to go back. They can't cope. They can't understand with the chaos that we have back home. So now we're faced with the new phenomenon of dealing with our new generation. With it came challenges. One, like I said, we were not trained to do so. We didn't anticipate it. Second, many of our imams are still from that initial generation. They have not adopted or adapted themselves to the new change. They still address the children, this new generation, as they addressed their fathers. They have been imams for 20, 30 years. Their method has not evolved yet. So they still want these kids to receive the same information the way that their parents received it. And that's not going to happen. You have to change your style and your method, and you got to acquaint yourself with the culture that's here. You can't just completely say, this culture is miserable, this culture is bad, because the kids think when you say this culture is bad, that they're bad. And you cannot do that. You can't do it. So, add to it that some of our imams, even the language is a barrier between them and the children, so they can't really communicate. Next thing is, even if these have been able to be conquered, the language and the imam, we don't change. We stick to the same routine. You know, I was saying to some of the brothers we had lunch together today, if you go to the gym and exercise, and you exercise the same exercise every single day, your body learns what you're doing. All of a sudden, you don't benefit from it anymore. That's it. Your muscles don't grow no more. They don't become stronger because you're doing the same thing. You have to change. They say if you want to get healthier when you run on the treadmill, you have to change the speed. So, for example, you're on 3, you're walking, and then all of a sudden you shock your body and you go up to 6. And go for 2 minutes running and then you go back down to 3. If you run for a whole half hour, you're at 6 and 7, and you're running for a whole half hour, and every day you do that, all of a sudden your body doesn't benefit anymore. It has to change. Some of our activities in the message, they're the same thing every day. We teach the Qur'an the same way. We have to strategize and change the methods. And one message cannot do it alone. It has to be various messages and new people, new faces, and so forth. You know, I tell the imams, you know, when you travel from one city to another, you go to a city, they hear your khutbah, they say, this is the best khutbah I ever listened to. I wish you were our imam. It's not really true. It's just they got used to their imam until his khutbah became just another talk. If their imam went to this imam's masjid in his area, they'll say, Wallahi, the best khutbah we ever heard. I wish you were our imam. And that's the situation. Change faces, bring new leadership. Change them. Instead of just teaching the Quran, for example, all the time in the masjid, have it under a tree someday, do a camp, do a trip, have some activities, whatever it is. Let the kids love it. Don't shove it down their throat. Yes?
One of the he said, can we eat turkey? Are we allowed to eat turkey? Seems like it's family member that comes on.
Which Turkey are you talking about? Erdogan? Turkey is halal. Since when Turkey is haram? It's the celebration that's haram, not the turkey. But if you're going to eat the turkey on Thanksgiving Day because it's Thanksgiving Day, then it's wrong. But if I don't like turkey, I can't swallow it. Yeah, turkey is not haram. Yes.
Shaykh, do you think you got a chance to come back to Nashville? Or you just
to live?
Yes. And I have another question.
Never say never. I don't know, because we don't know what the future is. First of all, even if it's just about tomorrow, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. You know, when I first came to the States, I was in Detroit. And I said, I'm never going to live in this country. I lived in this country. And then I said, okay, you know, to protect myself, I'm going to live next to the family in Detroit. Before I knew it, I found myself in New York. In the first 6 months, I wanted to commit suicide. No, it's haram, by the way. But New York is that type. And then after the first year, second year, third year, 4 years, I started loving New York. And then all of a sudden it came to Nashville, and 8 years later, I thought I'll never leave Nashville, and you guys pushed me away, and I left. And I thought I'll never even come back to visit. I've come back many times, and here I am in Masjid Al-Farooq. So I don't know where I'm going to be 1 year later, 2 years later. I know where I'm going to be eventually in the future. Somewhere buried on the face of earth. Inshallah. And hopefully in Jannah eventually. So I don't know. This is the first step. You guys got me back here today. Who knows what tomorrow comes?
Sheikh, I need to tell me about Al-Imam Al-Mahdi. Is that truth or just khurafat.
Oh, no, Imam Mahdi is true. But not the way the Shia says it. He's not fistirdab. He's not hiding in some cave, alive for a long time. He's a man that will be born like you and I, but he'll be born in Mecca. He will come and do what the Rasul ﷺ said that he will do. He'll be a leader amongst the Ummah and all that stuff. So Al-Mahdi is real. And he'll even follow Isa alayhi salam eventually. Isa alayhi salam will come back during the time Al-Mahdi is still alive. But not like the Shia says. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, brother.
My name is Abdulhakim. Since you talked more about the Qur'an and how it affects the believer and non-believer, we see something is wrong with the Imams. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاقْتَصِمُوا بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا and emphasize وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. So why do we see as a young generation that Imams are not getting connected? And if they do, we'll have like more high school students, we'll have sick people to be visited, or a marriage party to be participated in every aspect of life. And why do we have also so much masajid while we don't have fill up, people that can fill up this masjid and the leader of another masjid? And as we know about this masjid, besides the national teams, we have almost 7 masajid. And every salah that you go, you will see like few people in the front line. But there's no 2 lines, maybe sometimes like this. Why does it happen always? And what's your idea?
I'm gonna give you a hadith because I don't want to get into the specific detail of an area. I've been away from Nashville for almost 10 years now, so I'll leave it to that. But there's a hadith Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman. This hadith is in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, muttafaqun alayh. Hudayfa said that the Rasul ﷺ asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 3 things. He made dua and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 3 things. The Rasul ﷺ said, Allah ta'ala answered me to 2 and denied me 1. He said, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He does not destroy my ummah with a massive calamity like He did nations before. And Allah ta'ala answered me to that. So this ummah, the whole people, all the face will not be destroyed like the people of Nuh and so forth. Massive calamities. And then he said, I asked Allah ta'ala that He does not empower an enemy from outside to come and eliminate the Muslim ummah. And He answered me to that. So no one on the face of earth will be powerful enough to erase Muslims from existence. If everyone on the face of earth get together, they'll still be unable to eliminate the Muslims from existence. Then the third one, he said, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to have the animosity among my ummah at each other great. The hate and so forth and grudges. He said He denied me that. So this is a fact that we will have issues. Hate and animosity and grudge. And there are many reasons for it. And no one is immune from it, whether they are imam or a board member or just a regular Muslim that's living there. And it's the same thing we can say, you and your brother had issues and your co-worker have issues, and the imams themselves also have issues and masajid have issues. And the sad part is that every time we do have issues, everyone always assumes themselves to be right, and that is actually where it's wrong. Let me repeat that. Every time we have issues, everyone assumes themselves to be right, and that's actually where it's wrong. If we have assumed ourselves to be wrong, we will become right, inshallah. I'll stop there. Brother Sharif said, I said that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to slaughter a sheep in the name of Khadija. Not Bismillah Khadija. For in the name of Khadija to donate, but it's in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not allowed to slaughter except in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair for everything. I just wanted to be clear, and you told us about the history, and some histories are not true. Like you told for me about Umar ibn al-Khattab. And the same thing is with the brothers we are talking about this issue, and about before Islam, Jahiliyyah. And did Umar, they have a history, he buried his
daughter.
His daughter, and even she...
That is not true either.
That's not true.
Umar did not bury his daughter alive. That hadith actually is weaker than the story of his Islam. Imam Al-Albani قال هذا حديث منكر. Yes.
So does it mean that we cannot slaughter if my father died? I cannot slaughter?
You can donate. What Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to do when he was slaughtered, he basically donated in her name. By the way, it's not a sadaqah jari, it's a sadaqah. It's a sadaqah. He donated in her name. Let me tell you how much he loved Khadija. Can you give me your attention? Especially the adults. One day the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was sitting in his house with Aisha. All of a sudden he heard a knock. As soon as he heard a knock, he stood up. And he said, Innaha hiya, Innaha hiya. Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah. He said, Innaha hiya, Innaha hiya. So Khadija's like, who are you talking about? It's her, it's her. He said, open the door, quickly, open the door. So she opens the door, she sees this lady, she comes in. The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sits with this lady, and they chit-chatting and laughing and talking. When she left, Aisha got a little jealous. She said, Ya Rasulullah, min had? This is Khadija's sister. She and I were talking about the good days, the days of Khadija. And he recognized her by the knock because it reminded him the way Khadija used to knock the door. Another story. When the Muslims conquered Mecca, and they were entering Mecca, many of us don't read this story. We just read that, مَاذَا تَظُنُّونَ أَنِّي فَاعِلٌ بِكُمْ. We don't read the fine print that really matters in it. As the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam entered Mecca, he saw an old lady from distance. And he's with the army, with Abu Bakr, Umar. He stopped, got down of his camel, went to this old lady, went and gave her salam, sat with her a little while, and then came back. So Abu Bakr said, Ya Rasulullah, man hadihi? He said, that was Khadija's friend. That was Khadija's friend. He loved her so much that even her friend, he stopped everything, the whole army, to go to give her salam. Aisha one time said, Ya Rasulullah, what do you have with that lady that's demised, that old lady that has died? Allah Ta'ala give you better. He said, she meant herself. He said, no, he didn't. No, he did. So, come on, we're human beings. You know? We're not robots. We're not robots. We're allowed to have emotions. We're allowed to celebrate each other and donate in each other's name. Yeah, donate in your father's name and your mother's name. And I have an organization, for Burma. You can donate to that too. I'm going to do a fundraiser right now.
And we go to Burma.
Yes. What is it? Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Can you? Okay. Brother, I was just wondering, since you travel around the United States, I was wondering if you know any Islamic universities in the country, and if there are the ones that you recommend, because we have so many youth here who finish the Qur'an and love to study Islam. If they cannot go outside, if they can find something in this country.
This is a very good question. And my question before I answer yours is the following, and I'll answer. I don't need anyone to raise their hands. If your objective is to go seek knowledge, then I have an answer for you. If your objective to seek a degree, I also have an answer for you. If you're seeking a degree, a certificate, a degree, a certified degree, there is no university today in the United States except the Zaytuna that has a certified degree. Because all the Islamic universities today, none of them are accredited except the Zaytuna. If you are aiming to get knowledge, al-ilm, then most of the universities that we have today in the United States are online universities, like Al-Mishkah, and American Open University, and Open American University, and others. All of these are online universities. I personally do not believe in seeking knowledge online. So if you're looking for knowledge, it's not online. Our ulama used to say, "Man kana kitabuhu shaykhuhu kitabuh, فَخَطَأُهُ أَكْثَرُ مِنْ صَوَابِهِ." If your sheikh is your book, then your mistakes are more than what you are correct. And this is a book. Imagine online. These onlines give you a paper that's not even accredited. But as some say, it's better than nothing. At least it allows you to be putting some effort in reading. And the best thing that I have to tell you, if in sense of here in the United States, is to do one of the following. There is a university, an on-site university in Minnesota. It's called the Islamic University. And they just opened a new chapter in Detroit. It's chaired by Sheikh Walid Minisi. That is the best that I find out there, because it's not accredited, but it's on-site, and mashayikh are there to teach you. And Sheikh Walid Minisi, there is no one in the United States that understands Qur'an like he does. And then among the teachers is Al-Farooq and a few others. In Detroit also, they have a good number of shuyukh that teach on-site. So if you're able to go to Minnesota or Detroit, I would suggest this, the Islamic University that Sheikh Walid presides over. And if you want something really better than that, and you're willing to dedicate time, then find a sheikh and shadow that sheikh. You know what shadow means? Go with them wherever they go. Travel. This is how it used to be taught in the past, and this is how they call it in the West, mentoring. You find someone that mentors you and teaches you. And there are some shuyukh out there, if they see dedication, they will teach you. You will, accompany them. They will give you ijazah in the qira'ats, in the Qur'an, and fiqh, and hadith. And when the last day we had school at the university, our professor said, "Congratulations for graduating from this university, and good luck for seeking ilm in your upcoming years." He considered seeking ilm comes after the graduation, not prior to that. And it was true. I spent a few years in the haram, going with shuyukh, and spent 8 years with Sheikh Atiyah Muhammad Salim, spent 3 years with the Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, studied hadith from the Sheikh Abdulhakim Ansari, rahmatullahi alayh, and Sheikh Al-Abbad in Al-Haram. And that's what I remember what they said more so than I remember what our teachers said in the classrooms, because the teachers in the classrooms, I listened to graduate, to get a good grade. And alhamdulillah, I graduated the first in my class. Didn't mean anything 10, 15 years later. So if you're interested and you can't go abroad, shadow a sheikh, or go to Minnesota and Detroit and attend Islamic University. Online, if you take online classes, good for you, but please don't name yourself sheikh after that. Just please, I'm begging you, because you're not. You're not.
Can you tell us the importance of studying the seerah of the Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how it benefits us?
Studying the seerah is wajib. Did I just say wajib? Yes, it's wajib. Studying the seerah is wajib. Why do I say wajib? Because the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was named as our example. Allah Ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. How can he be our example if I don't know how he lived in his seerah? So for me to identify the sunnah and to identify how he lived, I have to study the seerah. And part of the seerah is the hadith. Some people distinguish between the seerah and the hadith. No, they're the same. Because the hadith is part of his lifestyle. You know, when we read in the hadith how he used to eat, that's seerah, that's a biography. But it's also sunnah. So he used to eat with his right hand, he used to eat from in front of him, he doesn't reach his hand to the other side. Well, how he used to wear his clothes, that's part of his sunnah. It's like at the same time is seerah. So I'm not talking about the seerah of the battles, but part of the battles is sunnah also, how he acted during the battles. And what did he used to do and say, and how he approached his enemy and friends during these battles. So studying the seerah is extremely important. And another thing is, human beings, they don't really change. I mean, they evolve, but they're the same core. And Umar ibn al-Khattab said, لَنْ يُصْلِحَ آخِرُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ إِلَّا بِمَا صَلَحَ أَوَّلُهَا. This ummah will not go right except with the elements that made them go right in the first place. Before I forget, you know we have two guests here, right? They're from Ikna. And this sheikh, he was an imam in Atlanta. He's our guest today. And with him, that brother over there. And they just wanted to let you know that there is a conference that will be during the Christmas for the Ikna Mass Conference. I'll just do that without permission of the brothers here. There's Muslims, Americans building bridges. It will be in December from the 24th, 25th to 26th, inshallah ta'ala. If y'all want to go, inshallah, that's a conference. And that brother over there, he works for Ikna, and the sheikh, a long time imam. Let's see, what time is Isha we're going to have? 7:30. We have about 10 minutes. So make your questions important. Yes, right there. No, he's right there.
Well, I wanted to ask about the issue concerning jinn. Like, what is a jinn? Because when you sometimes when you ask people what is a jinn, they be giving a lot of details on it, but then it doesn't really sound correct. So
okay, I haven't understood the question though.
What are jinn?
Oh, what are jinn?
And
they are beings that are created from fire. They have the ability to believe and not. They have the same choice that human beings have. The difference between them and us is, like I said, their nature is from fire. We're from mud and clay and water. And they have tribes and families just like we have tribes and families. We don't get to see them. They get to see us. إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ هُوَ وَقَبِيلُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. Do we have interactions with them? Yes, there are some situations where there's some interactions with them. يُوحِي بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ زُخْرُفَ الْقَوْلِ غُرُورًا. Yeah. So, but they're not important to us right now. So let's see if we can get another question. Okay, you. Make it important. Huh? Why is dancing haram? Let me ask you, do you know how to dance? So it doesn't matter for you halal or haram. You don't know how to dance in the first place. Actually, that's a good question. Let me ask an adult. How many of you think dancing is halal? Raise your hand. How many of you think dancing is haram? Raise your hand. All of you are wrong that said it's haram. Dancing in Islam is halal unless you're dancing in a feminine way. You know, in a disrespectful, immoral way. The Rasul ﷺ in Hadith Aisha radiallahu ta'ala, are you listening? You're talking. In Hadith Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said during the holiday, a group of people came from Abyssinia, min al-Habasha. And they were in the masjid dancing. Now they were doing war dance, but they were still dancing. There were drums being beat, and they were dancing in the masjid. And Aisha wanted to see. So she was standing behind the Rasul ﷺ, and she was watching. And she had her chin on the shoulder of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept on asking her, did you get enough? And she says no. She wanted to continue, not because she wanted to see more. She said she loved the concept that her body is attached to the body of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But they were dancing, war dance. If the dance thing, no, you're going to give it to me, and he sees the Qur'an in her hand and give it to me. No, I'm not going to give it to you because you are najis, right? So he goes, takes a shower, comes back, then she gives him the Qur'an. He starts reading Taha, ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'an litashqa. You know, he slapped her before that. No? And then when he read Surah Taha, he got very happy. And then he said, where's the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? She said, he's at Dar al-Arqam, Nami al-Arqam. And he went there and declared his Islam. You like the story, right? I'm really, really sorry. It's not an authentic story. This story is not authentic. There's a lot of faults in the story, historically. And ulama al-hadith also have questioned the story. The most authentic story of how Umar radiallahu ta'ala embraced Islam is he heard the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam around the Kaaba reciting Surah Taha. And then he asked where he is, and he went to Dar al-Arqam and became a Muslim. So there's not that much drama. And the reason why the story cannot be true also, even logically, it's not true. Because first of all, لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. When did this ayah was revealed? Many years later. Many years later. So there was no ruling that a person that is not tahir cannot touch the Qur'an al-Karim. Second thing, his najasa is what? Najasa ma'nawiyah. He's a mushrik. Just because he took a shower, does his najasa go away? No, he's still najis. So if she didn't want to give him the Quran because he was najis before, he's still najis after. Even if he takes a shower in the Pacific Ocean and swims across. إِنَّمَا الْمُشْرِكُونَ نَجَسٌ. So it doesn't matter how much he takes showers, you know. And if it's najasa from junub, ghusl al-janaba ibadah. It's an ibadah. You have to have the intention. Even as a Muslim, if you're junub and you don't have the intention to cleanse yourself from janaba, even if you swim across the ocean, you're still janaba. You have to have the intention that I'm doing this as ghusl al-janaba because it's ibadah. It's ibadah. You see what I'm saying? So this whole concept of he took a shower and all that stuff, whatever. It's a good story. It works for the kids. So you can see even Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Qur'an al-Karim, changed him with the authentic story, or most likely story, which is he heard the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam read the Qur'an al-Karim. And there are many stories of such nature that there are non-Muslims that were impacted by the Qur'an al-Karim, and some eventually became Muslims, including today. As I said yesterday, there's a lot of up-to-date stories of people that did so. Now, the only sad thing is that for many, the Qur'an al-Karim can be the opposite. It can be a cause of their demise, a cause of their going astray. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, زِيدُهُمْ نُفُورًا. It will bring into their hearts even more distance from the Qur'an al-Karim. And blindness, وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِمْ عَمَى. Because they don't approach the Qur'an al-Karim in an open heart. Iman cannot enter your heart until you open yourself to it. فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. You have to be receptive. And you have to be willing and open-minded to listen to the Qur'an al-Karim and allow it to come in. If you do, then you'll see amazing things happen, inshallah ta'ala. Let me give you just a story so I can come to an end. Many years ago, I used to be an imam in New York. And Masjid Al-Farooq there, same name as here. And there was a group of students from a church from Connecticut. They came to visit the masjid. And they said they wanted me to give them a talk. And so I sat there thinking, what do I not want to talk about? They're all teenagers, 16, 17, 18 years old. So I decided I'm not going to give a talk. I'm just going to read Qur'an al-Karim. So I told them I'm going to chant something to you and you just listen. As I was reading the Qur'an al-Karim, I was reading Surah Maryam, about 2.5 pages. One of them, she had her fingers in her ears like this as they were listening. After I finished, I said, "Can anyone raise their hands and say they were disturbed by what they heard?" None of them raised their hands except her. She raised her hand. I was disturbed. I said, "Why are you disturbed?" SubhanAllah, as I was reading, I lifted my eyes up and I saw her fingers in her ears. I said, "Why were you disturbed?" She goes, "Because I don't like the Qur'an." I said, "I never said it's Qur'an. How did you know it's Qur'an?" She said, "Well, because I heard it before." I said, "You didn't even hear it now. You had your fingers in your ears." It reminded us of what the people of Nuh used to do. They used to put their fingers in their ears because if you allow access for the truth, and there's nothing beyond the truth of Qur'an, it will have its positive effect on you no matter what. That's why the mushrikeen, what they used to do. There's a beautiful story about Abu Jahl, wal-Akhnas ibn Qais, wa Abi Sufyan, wal-Akhnas ibn Shurayq, wa Abi Sufyan. These three people, they were mushrikeen. Each night they used to sneak and go listen to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he's reading in his house. And then as the morning comes, they walk back, they run into each other. "Oh, what were you doing? Why are you here listening? Don't you do that again." So they all go home. "Okay, we're not going to do it." The next night they come back again. They can't resist. They come back again. And they start listening to the Qur'an al-Kareem. As they walk back and the light comes out, they see them. They see each other. "Oh, you did it again." After 3 times, they swore to each other that they will never, ever do this again. But then they talked to each other a little bit. So each one asked the other, "What did you see in what you heard of the Qur'an al-Kareem?" And each one said something positive, except Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl said, Bani Hashim, they claim that they feed the needy, we fed the needy. They claim they brought water for the Hujjaj, we did the same thing. And now they're claiming that they have a prophet that wahi comes from the sama. Where are we going to bring that? I'm never going to believe in him. He just had tribal issues, jealousy issues. He's the only of the 3 that didn't become a Muslim. If you allow this Qur'an to come into your life will become better. Even those who are non-Muslims. Mehari Hospital here. There's a doctor that worked at Mehari Hospital in the mental department when I was here as an imam. And he's a Muslim brother. He came to me, I remember, and he said, "Sheikh, do you mind coming to our department and praying for those who are in our department?" He had brought a rabbi and brought a pastor and a priest. So it was just part of the thing, bringing an imam also. So I go to this department. They're all mentally ill. And I started reading the Qur'an for them. All of a sudden they calmed down. Wallahi, I kid you not. It's the true story. They all calmed down. Each time he brought some kind of religious guy, they weren't really receptive. They're mentally ill. They can't help themselves. They were a little wild. They had to be sedated sometimes. And when I got there, read the Qur'an Kareem, they calmed down. The nurses were just overwhelmed, shocked. And then he said, "Sheikh, do you think you can come every week?" And I did that for over a year. Every week I used to go for 10 minutes and I just read the Qur'an on those folks. He told me there were a number of them, they were able to be discharged. And they were thought to never regain their sensibility ever. But this Qur'an al-Kareem did so. You just allow it to have access into your heart. Open your heart. Open your heart. Let it be part of your life. You'll have a better relationship with your wife, a much better relationship with your parents, an amazing relationship with your children, an acceptable relationship with the people that you engage with. Everyone will see you as a positive individual, hopeful individual, a smiling type of person that brings joy to the hearts of others. That's what the Qur'an can do. So don't just memorize it, let it be who you are, your identity. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakum Allahu khair.